story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News. I am Frank Omalape. In our major story, many die as two female suicide bombers hit Maiduguri market in Borno State. Also in this program, Senate set to debate President Goodluck Jonathan's request an emergency rule after marathon meeting with service chiefs. And now CBN devalues Naira by 8.38% in the face of global dwindling oil prices. Outside Nigeria, deadly riots and looting spree in the U.S. town of Ferguson after a jury rules not to bring charges over the killing of a black teenager. And now the details. Two suicide bombers have attacked a crowded market in Maiduguri, killing scores of people. Eyewitnesses, however, said at least 30 people were killed in the twin explosion at the popular Monday market. Security forces have confirmed the blast, but indicated that it may be too early to know the casualty figure. This is the first bombing incident in Maiduguri in recent times, as most of the insurgents' activities had been on the fringes. Borno State government has confirmed that 54 bomb victims are on admission in the aftermath of Tuesday's suicide bombing in Maiduguri. 14 people were critically injured in the incident, while 20 have been discharged from hospital. Executive Secretary, Hospital Management Board, Salisu Bura, disclosed this while briefing Governor Kashim Shettima during his visit to the victims at the hospital in Maiduguri. The hospital authorities also noted that 24 bodies were brought to the hospital. Speaking after going round the hospital, Shettima described the bombers as wicked, especially as they targeted children and women. After an 8-hour-long closed-door session with service chiefs, the Senate has resolved to publicly deliberate on President Goodluck Jonathan's request for extension of emergency rule in the northeast state of Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe. The federal lawmakers had twice met behind closed doors last week, but senators, mostly from northern Nigeria, refused to back the president's request until service chiefs give an update on the security situation. Chief of Army Staff Kenneth Minima, Chief of Air Staff Adeshola Amosu, and the Director General of the Department of State Service, Itai Ekpeyon, on Tuesday briefed the Senate on military operations. Speaking with journalists after the session, Senate spokesman Iyinaya Baribe said the service chiefs insisted that extending emergency rule will make it easier for troops to flush out insurgents from areas they have occupied in recent weeks. He added that senators were also briefed on some of the challenges the military had been facing in dealing with the insurgency. And moving on, the Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola has called on the federal government to provide modern equipment for the police to surmount the security challenges facing the nation. Fashola made the appeal at the commissioning of the reconstructed Area C Police Command in Surulere area of the state. Our correspondent Abiola Luwale's report is presented from our studios. About this time 8 years ago, this area was yet to recover from the ruins suffered as soldiers and policemen had on October 4th, 2006 dropped their obligations to service to engage in fierce battle which claimed some lives and several property worth millions of naira. This newly constructed police formation was one of the property that suffered a deadly fate. The new edifice, according to Fashola, symbolizes the vision of his administration for the police. He, however, called on the federal government to provide modern equipment for the police to enable them cope with their professional duty of protecting lives and property.
It is important to remind ourselves that this is not a state responsibility. This is the responsibility of the federal government. I believe that our law enforcement deserve much more than we have given them. In a country that produces oil, in a country that has 170 million people, that has businesses, that has human resource and natural resource, I think we need to give more to law enforcement agents if we are serious about protecting democracy, if we are serious about developing business, because it is only in a secure environment that investment will settle and investment will thrive.
The Inspector General of Police Sulaiman Abba, represented by Deputy Inspector General of Police Maman Safi, says the edifice will surely motivate the police to do more.
I challenge the police that this edifice is to enhance your service delivery, is to improve on your own performances. You have seen the level of acceptability, because a government is ready to do this because you are accepted. So you are challenged. It's over to you now to respond to these challenges. We have so many, and we have to be committed to the service of our country.
The police are expected to put the new structure to judicious use. Now we take you to our story earlier, and after 8 hours, a long closed-door section with 7 chiefs, the Senate has resolved to publicly deliberate on President Goodluck Jonathan's request for extension of emergency rule in the northeastern state of Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe State. The federal lawmakers had twice met behind closed door last week, but senators mostly from northern Nigeria refused to back the president's request until 7 chiefs give an update on the security situation. Chief of Army Staff Kenneth Minima, Chief of Air Staff Adeshola Mosu, and the Director General of the Department of State Service, Itai Peyong, on Tuesday briefed the Senate on military operations. Speaking with journalists after the section, Senate spokesman Inanya Baribe said the 7 chiefs insisted that extending the emergency rule would make it easier for troops to flush out insurgents from areas they have occupied in recent weeks. He added that senators were also briefed on some of the challenges the military have been facing in dealing with the insurgency.
The fact that they are capable of dealing with the insurgency means that the Senate will do all in its power to support the Nigerian military so that we can bring this insurgency to a quick resolution. We also found from their briefing that we have some problems which has to do with the troop levels and with the level of equipment and, of course, all the other ancillary problems where you have to fight what we call an asymmetrical war, not a formal conflict. And we're very glad that the military is, at this moment, gearing up itself to be able to deal with this asymmetrical conflict in the northeast of Nigeria. The question of the state of emergency was not what was on the table today. And we are going to also wait until it's brought on the floor of the Senate and we will now discuss it. What the Senate did today was to separate the 2 questions. Of course, the military continues to insist that they need the state of emergency to be able to conduct operations in a manner that will bring it to a quick resolution. when the Senate now takes the question of state of emergency, of course, you will be there because it will be discussed in open plenary.
The Central Bank of Nigeria has devalued the naira by 8.38% in response to falling oil prices. Consequently, the official exchange rate of the naira to the dollar has jumped from 158 to 168 naira. In addition, the CBN raised the monetary policy rate to 13% from 12% for the first time in over a year. Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele told journalists at the end of the two-day Monetary Policy Committee (MPC) meeting that the decision to lower the value of naira is meant to strengthen the currency.
The current situation demands that the bank confronts the issue of declining external reserves head-on in order to strengthen the value of the domestic currency. Consequently, stabilizing prices and maintaining exchange rate stability and charting a sustainable path for medium to long-term growth are the immediate top priorities. The committee remains committed to these in order to sustain the credibility of our policies and anchor the expectations of our core stakeholders. Having considered all the issues above, the committee decided that A. 9 members voted to increase the monetary policy rate to 13%, while 2 members voted to retain the monetary policy rate at 12%. Substantial currency depreciation has occurred in comparator oil exporting countries, but the naira has depreciated by only 1.74%. At the interbank segment, the naira depreciated by 1 naira 75 kobo or 1.06% to the dollar to 165.55 naira to the dollar from 163.8 naira to the dollar. In the same vein, the exchange rate depreciated by 1 naira or 1.19% from 169 naira to the dollar to 170 naira to the dollar at the bureau de change segment.
Meanwhile, as the country puts in place austerity measures to help cushion the effect of the dwindling oil prices, the Osun State government has formally accessed the 2 billion naira loan under the Central Bank of Nigeria's 220 billion naira Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Fund. Governor Alpha Egbeshola at the official presentation of the check in Osun with the Osun State capital promised to make Osun an economic El Dorado. Our correspondent Rashid was there and now reports.
The event was a two-in-one. First was the disbursement of the CBN's 2 billion naira, and second, the distribution of commercial minibuses, tricycles, and motorcycles to transporters. Out of 2 billion naira loan, 3,697 beneficiaries under 256 cooperative societies had already assessed 610,350,000 naira, while the second batch is currently being processed. The major beneficiaries of the loan include artisans, market women, transport operators, and cooperative societies, among others. Aregbesola expressed the determination of his administration to transform the state's economy to mitigate the effect of the downfall in the global prices of crude oil.
The state of Osun has been able to secure access to 2 billion, which we have already started to disburse. A diverse range of groups from different segments of society benefited from the fund. They included cooperative groups of artisans, market women, traders, spare part dealers, farmers, and operators of commercial motorcycles under the aids of Akomora and Amuntumi, including even the physically challenged. The second phase of the disbursement is underway, involving the disbursement of more than 1 billion.
The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria said the Apex Bank is giving out the 220 billion naira loan to empower people and lift them out of poverty.
Our objective really is to empower majority of the people. These are people who have been left behind without access to financial services, without resources to improve themselves and their businesses. So it is the commitment of the Central Bank of Nigeria to ensure that this category of people are empowered. Once again, that 60% of what you are taking, the 2 billion naira you are taking for your people, 60% is supposed to go for women. So we are pleading to you to ensure that you pay back the money when you get the money.
On that day, 9th of July, Mr. Governor promised that all the beneficiaries, they will not pay interest. And I'm happy to you today, but these 3,249 beneficiaries, they have received their money as I'm talking to you without interest. The state government is going to bear the payment of this interest. The governor gave us the money, the CBN, at the rate of 3% and 6% to microfinance bank, totally 9%. The state government is going to pay everything.
The loan was given at 9% interest rate, but the state government, however, offered to pay the interest on behalf of the beneficiaries. Rashid, CoreTV News, Oshogbo.
Work has commenced at the Abuja Centenary City project, which Nigerian government officials insist will enhance the country's position as the largest economy in Africa. The developers said the project, which is to cost $18.6 billion, equivalent of 2.4 trillion, is also expected to create job opportunities as well as attract local and foreign investments. The project is private sector driven and has an estimated 10-year completion plan.
Planned city, so it's going to take us a while to build. I would say 10 years plus to build out all the phases of the city. The first phase is the Abuja hotel and residences, and that is the first phase. Sure, we will have 87,000 office workers, so those are the jobs that will be created in the office space. In addition to that, we'll have 137,000 residents. I would say a bulk of these will be Nigerians. In our estimates, for every resident, there will be probably 2 or 3 jobs created. So close to about 300,000-400,000 jobs. Mostly local because there'll be 2 stages of job creation. One is construction phase, and once we're finished with construction, in the services sector.
You're still watching CoreTV Primetime News. Ekiti APC lawmakers failed to resume sitting after an earlier vow to do so. Find out more after this time out. Stay with us.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear Professor.
My former students.
Happy birthday.
Every day, life is made better by the moments of surprise we create for others and for ourselves. Be better. Surprise someone this season and make sure to text 11 to 400 to get a surprise from MTN. MTN, everywhere you go.
You're still watching CoreTV Primetime News. If you're just joining us now, here is a quick reminder of some of the major headlines. Many die as 2 female suicide bombers hit Maiduguri market in Borno State. Also in this program, Senate set to debate President Goodluck Jonathan's request on emergency rule after marathon meeting with 7 chiefs. CBN devalues Naira by 8.38% in the face of global dwindling oil prices. You can also reach us on our social media platform. Visit our facebook.com/CoreTV News and our Twitter handle at CoreTV News NG. For previous production, log on to youtube.com/CoreTV. Leave a space, then news. And now the Supreme Court on Tuesday dismissed 3 separate appeals filed by the suspended president of the Rivers State Customary Court of Appeal, Justice PNC Agomago. Agomago will sued the National Judicial Council before the Federal High Court in Abuja, challenging his suspension by the council had, among other prayers, asked the Supreme Court to strike out the appeal records compiled by the council. The NJC has suspended Agomago for allegedly flouting his judicial oath by allowing Governor Rotimi Amechi to swear him in as the Chief Judge of Rivers State without the council recommending him. In one of the interlocutory appeals rising from his suit, Agomago had contended that the Court of Appeal was wrong in interpreting the provisions of the Court of Appeal Practice Direction of 2013. Agomago in the appeals also challenged the refusal of the Court of Appeal to strike out the records of proceedings compiled by the NJC. Agomago's counsel, Akinlolu Odujimi, had contended that the NJC was wrong to have compiled records of appeal within 14 days instead of the 60 days stipulated by the law. Odujimi had also urged the Supreme Court to direct the Court of Appeal to stay proceedings in a separate appeal which was filed by the NJC. The NJC had filed its appeal against the decision of the trial judge, Justice Adeni Ademola, who decided to hear its objection along with the Agomago's main suit. The crisis rocking the Ekiti State House of Assembly appears far from over. This time, the 19 APC lawmakers have refused to show up at the Assembly complex, contrary to their earlier vow to snub the House on Monday. The lawmakers say the presence of miscreants at the complex is a threat to their lives and unsafe for legislative duties. The PDP lawmakers, however, accused their APC colleagues of negligence of duty. Our correspondent Rashid finds in this report.
At a meeting with the Lagos Press last week, the 19 APC lawmakers vowed to storm the Ekiti House of Assembly complex on Monday. This did not materialize even though the APC lawmakers have been spotted around town. This did not, however, go down well with the PDP in the state.
In a situation where you put thugs in the State House of Assembly, where the place has been turned into a den where layabouts now start taking in their hands, such a work environment is not good for us to function as a lawmaker.
The Bible is so clear. It said the guilties are afraid. Has anybody asked them what they have done? Why are they not voted here? Their families are here. Why are they running away? It's only the guilty that are afraid. Let's ask questions from them. Why are they running away?
The witch-hunting label on Governor Ayodele Fayose by the APC lawmakers was also dismissed by the PDP as lacking in fact and utterly baseless.
The drama that we are witnessing now has been written by Ayo Fayose himself, and he's just trying to direct it. And the drama is not a good narrative for the socio-economic development of our state.
I don't want to believe that the governor is the one, engineering what is happening in the legislative arm of government currently. No. The legislators have the business to legislate. They can choose their leader. It is their business. It's absolutely their business.
The lawmakers' rift is already assuming a dangerous proportion as accusations fly from both sides of the divide, with the attendant tension on the polity.
19 APC lawmakers will not engage negatively in the drama that is going on in the State House of Assembly.
If I'm a member of the House today, and I'm from Ado Ekiti, and I have come back to Ado Ekiti, and I stay in Ereguru where I am from, you think anybody will come and molest me? The boss in my street will rise up against the person.
With the assembly clearly divided and the parties involved spoiling for battle, the drumbeat of war appears lax in the corner. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ado Ekiti.
Reactions have not ceased to trail last Thursday's siege on the National Assembly by the police, the Ekiti lawmakers' impeachment saga, and the invasion of the data office of the APC in Lagos. Our Chairman House Committee and Public Accounts, Solomon Olamilekan Adiola, who also participated in the Abuja Show of Shame, defended his colleague's action. He wants the executive arm of government to refrain from interfering with the House of Representatives.
What happened at the National Assembly is an eyesore because that's a separate arm of government. There are three arms of government: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. The legislature is independent of the executive and the judiciary. And as such, for that siege that has happened, is another arm of government intruding into another arm of government entirely. So, we're able to checkmate that. We're able to tell Nigerians that democracy has come to stay and it has come to stay for good. And it is not something that will be subverted by any single individual, whosoever his or her position is in this country. House of Representatives, which was the main focus, is a house of one big family. We are together. A lot of defection has happened in recent past, and nothing has been done. This was not different from any other defection. And as such, the court has said, let the status quo remain. And it is only the court that can interpret what or who can differ from one party to the other. And until that is done, the status quo remain. But on this very, very sound note, the executive should stay clear of the legislature.
A former member of the National Assembly, Anthony Defia, has also joined in the wide condemnation of last week's siege on the National Assembly by the police. He described the act displayed by the police and directed the Speaker, Aminu Tambuwal, as undemocratic and capable of causing uproar in the country.
It was a national disgrace that they will bar the Speaker of the National Assembly from going into his office. And it is a national disgrace that the police will lock members out, that they have to scale the fence to get to their office to ensure that there is no breakdown of law and order and the democracy is not truncated. Because if they have not climbed the wall that day, those few PDP National Assembly members who were locked inside will have used that little number to impeach him, just as they did in Ekiti State.
The People's Democratic Party has said it will no longer condone what it described as unwarranted and sustained vicious attacks on President Goodluck Jonathan by the opposition or Progressive Congress APC. It, however, did not say what action it would take if the anti-Jonathan rhetoric persists. The party's spokesman, Elisamitu, said in a statement that the attacks show that the APC neither has an agenda nor an alternative to what it has been criticizing. He described PDP's stance on issues as decent in contrast to what he says are threats of violence emanating from the opposition party. The Congress Committee of the People's Democratic Party has concluded what it described as statutory election of 735 Lagos delegates of the party to its forthcoming National Congress. Chairman of the committee, Adamu Wazera, briefed the media in Lagos on how the party arrived through a combination of mutual consensus and election to choose the delegates.
We have conducted the election that will provide the PDP with an arsenal of 735 delegates from Lagos that would come up through the direct primary election, in addition to what we know as the statutory delegates made up of elected members of the PDP in the state legislature, in the national legislature, and in various levels of leadership in our party. For Lagos, I don't know the number, but these are what are called statutory delegates. These 735 we have elected. The vacancy to fill the 735 have been contested. In many instances, there had been what we consider consensus and mutual agreement about the 3 delegates per ward. In some other instances, the party members and women decided to cast their votes by queuing, by raise of hand, to choose the 3 delegates. Out of the 735, we have been able to attain almost 95% success this time around.
You're still watching CoreTV Primetime News. We take another break and return with business, sports, and stories outside Nigeria. Stay with us.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear Professor.
My former students.
Happy birthday.
Every day, life is made better by the moments of surprise we create for others and for ourselves. Be better. Surprise someone this season and make sure to text 11 to 400 to get a surprise from MTN.
MTN, everywhere you go.
There is an Ebola virus epidemic in some West African countries. The Nigerian government wants you to be aware and watch out against the spread of Ebola in your community. Help keep our country safe and watch out for severe cases of fever, headaches, diarrhea, chest and abdominal pain, sore throat, cough, red eyes, and bleeding from the eyes, ears, and nose, especially when these symptoms are found in persons coming into Nigeria from other West African countries. Protect yourself. Wash your hands regularly with soap and running water, or use a hand sanitizer. Avoid contact with the blood, urine, feces, or saliva of animals like bats, monkeys, gorillas, chimpanzees, or infected persons. The Ebola virus is deadly. Don't catch it, don't spread it. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
And in business now, the nation's total debt rose by 2.52 trillion from 8.32 trillion on September 30, 2013 to 10.84 trillion naira on the 30th of September 2014. The current debt status of the country shows that the standard debts of both the federal and state governments stood at 9.52 billion US dollars. As of September 30, the domestic debt stock of the federal government alone stood at 49.12 billion US dollar. The domestic debt of state, on the other hand, stood at 10.97 billion dollars. In comparison, the standard debt of both the federal and state government stood at 1.28 trillion naira as of September 30, 2013. Also, the domestic debt of the federal government a year ago stood at 7.03 trillion naira. The federal government bond contributed 4.6 trillion naira. The Nigerian treasury bills contributed 2.74 trillion naira, while treasury bonds contributed 315.39 billion naira. The report says government plans to spend 2.08 trillion naira servicing the country's debt within the next 3 years. The National Union of Banks, Insurance and Financial Institutions Employees has urged the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria (ACOM) to ensure a protection of workers' rights in the ongoing sale of banks. The National Secretary of the Union, Mohammed Sheikh, made the plea, and today in Lagos, AMCON has concluded plans to sell off the assets of Mainstream, Enterprise, Heritage and Keystone Banks. It says consequential matter relating to workers' rights, especially the envisaged job losses, transfer of years of service, continued recognition of the rights to unionize condition of service should be addressed, he said. APCON and protective buyers of these banks should take cognizance of the provision of the law under the collective agreement and includes union in the sales of process, according to the report. And now the Nigerian Stock Exchange, in a statement today, said it had delisted 4 companies from its daily official list for non-compliance to post-listing requirements. The affected companies, Pinnacle Point Group PLC, Afro Oil, Starcoms and Big Treat. The affected companies failed to take any appropriate step to regularize their listing status. According to that report, investors will lose about 40.47 billion with the delisting of the affected companies. It says market capitalization of Pinnacle Point Group stood at 33.34 billion. Afro Oil stands at 2.58 billion. Starcoms 3.54 billion. While Big Treat market capitalization amount to 1 billion naira. And now let's join Sabena Izoku for today's stock market report.
CoreTV News Stock Market Report is brought to you by MTN.
MTN, everywhere you go.
Hello there and welcome to the Stock Market Report with me, Sabena Izoku. Equity transaction on the floor, the Nigerian Stock Exchange ended on a positive note today. The All Shares Index appreciated by 0.71% to close at 34,115.84 basis points. Market capitalization increased to close at 11.26 trillion naira. In all, a total of 357.77 million units of shares, valued at 4.36 billion naira, were exchanged in 4,666 deals. Total topped the gainers chart to close at 147 naira 40 kobo with a difference of 10 naira and 7 kobo, followed by Nestle, 40 Oil, PZ and Flour Mill. On the losers side, International Brewers topped the losers chart, followed by United Africa Company Property, Dangote Flour, Dangote Cement, Nigerian Aviation Holding Company. Meanwhile, Zenith Bank topped the traders chart, followed by Resourcel, First Bank of Nigeria Holdings, United Bank for Africa, and Diamond Bank. To wrap up the stock market report, here's the currency exchange rate for today.
CoreTV News Stock Market Report is brought to you by MTN.
MTN, everywhere you go.
You're still watching the CoreTV Primetime News. Let's quickly take a break. We'll be back with sports and other stories outside Nigeria. Stay with us.
Der Torschütze zum zwischenzeitlichen 1:1. Semenike schickt Musa, da ist Ahmed Musa und da ist der Ausgleich.
It's a beautiful Saturday evening in the city of Lagos.
Off the turn, Phelps had it, but then Matsui kept going.
Finals. 5 to shoot. Leonard does.
And of course, making a difference for all of us here from all our production crew. Thanks for one more pleasure.
Our style, that's what he delivered. Here's that ball storming, now he takes Puyol with a flying lead.
Go, taking them out in the lead and really.
In sports tonight, Secretary General of the Nigerian Football Federation, Musa Amadu, says Nigeria is here to receive the $9 million prize money earned for participation in the last World Cup in Brazil due to the leadership crisis that has bedeviled the Football Federation since the end of the competition. Amadu also says the Federation will pay back the $3.8 million advance given by the federal government to offset the appearance fee for the players in Brazil. The Super Eagles were knocked out of the tournament by France in the second round, and the crisis has been cited as a major reason why the Super Eagles failed to qualify for the 2015 African Cup of Nations slated for Equatorial Guinea. Now, the England international and Arsenal midfielder Jack Wilshere will see an ankle specialist to assess the damage done to his ankle after limping off during his team's loss to Manchester United in the English Premier League on Saturday. Wilshere, who limped off after a tackle by young Manchester United defender Paddy McNeil during the game, has struggled with niggling injuries. For some time, attempted to run off the injury, but was eventually substituted. Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger, while speaking on the eve of his team's Champions League clash with Borussia Dortmund, says he cannot give any news on the length of Wilshere's layoff, only to say that he will be out for a few games until an ankle specialist gives the prognosis of how long it will take to get him back to fitness. And now outside Nigeria, US of Ferguson has seen rioting and looting after a jury decided not to bring charges over the killing of a black teenager. Michael Brown was shot by a white police officer, Darry Wilson, on 9 August, sparking protests. A police chief said violence in the suburb of St. Louis, Missouri, was probably much worse than on any night since the teenager's death. St. Louis County Police Chief John Berma said rioters had fired 150 shots. Many in the African-American community had called for Wilson to be charged with murder, but following lengthy deliberations, a Missouri grand jury of 9 white and 3 black members made no recommendation of charges. Barack Obama had on Monday joined the teenager's family in appealing for calm, urging Americans to accept the decision was the grand jury's to make. Reports said more vandalism and looting has occurred in Ferguson after Monday's ruling than on any night in August. Police made 29 arrests and protesters attacked them and property in the town, looting shops. Well, just before we close tonight, let's quickly take a look at some of the stories that made our headlines tonight. We told you that many died as 2 female suicide bombers hit Maiduguri market in Borno State. We also reported that Senate set to debate President Goodluck Jonathan's request on emergency rule after marathon meeting with service chiefs. And finally, CBN devalues Naira by 8.38% in the face of global dwindling oil prices. Well, and that's a wrap on the show tonight. Many thanks for watching. I am Frank Omalape on behalf of the entire news crew. Have a wonderful night rest. Good night.